Well, tonight was a hard-fought conference battle. Most of them are, and tale of two halves for us in many ways, but especially on offense. In the second half, our defense sparked our offense, but we adjusted to their zone a little bit easier. You can practice, prepare, but until you get in the game, you don't realize the size they have and how well they communicate. They do a really good job. That's why their numbers through the first 3 games have been so outstanding on defense. They're very committed to that matchup zone. They know what they're doing, and they do it well. In the first half, we were standing, didn't move the ball as well, certainly didn't get it inside as well, and that reflected in the fact we had 21 points. I am happy with our defensive effort. That's as hard as we played. It's not really my opinion. You look out there and you see things happen, and guys are really helping each other, pressuring the ball. Steals are happening. Some of their turnovers were turnovers because of us, and it was good to see. Our defensive effort and the consistent effort broke the game open, and if we would have converted, they're really good in transition defense, 2-on-1s, 3-on-1s, 4-on-2s. I don't know how many points we really scored in those situations. If we would have been better in that area, we certainly would have scored even more points, but I credit Oregon State.
Coach, what did Raleigh give you tonight? What did you think of that reverse dunk?
Raleigh gives us everything. I almost feel like the stats are wrong. It has him for 0 rebounds, which I'm surprised. I felt like he got a couple, but he does everything. He drives the ball, scores in and around the basket. He's worked really hard on his three-point shooting. Defensively, he's big and he's physical. He does a lot of different things. So he's the most versatile player on our team.
How difficult is it for your team to adjust to that style, that tempo?
Every team that plays Oregon State has to adjust. And, you can't lose your patience. You can't become frustrated. You just have to stick with it. And for the most part, we did a good job of that.
Can you talk about the defensive effort? Can you talk about the overall effort? Is it better than what you had hoped for after Saturday's stuff?
No, it was what I had hoped for. We're a team that's really practicing hard. We've had 4 really hard days coming off of the Colorado game, and sometimes that's what you need, an opportunity to learn. And there's no better learning opportunity than when you fail. And we lost the game to a team that played very well on that particular day, but we didn't feel good about our effort. You try to correct it. It's not going to go from level 3 to level 10. There's going to be steps, and in my mind, we took steps forward. But tonight, and when we had a couple possessions where we weren't connected defensively, it shows up too. So for our team to be the best we can, we have to be the hardest playing team we can, and we're learning that.
Just a lot of was made of taking steps forward in the zone offense in the offseason. Just these last 2 games now, you've seen it extensively. Do you feel good about where the team is at and could potentially go from here?
Yeah, I do. Colorado was more of an outlier. We just had such a hard time stopping them that it didn't matter what they played on defense. There really wasn't going to be the issue of whether we won or lost. And obviously Oregon State plays a completely different style. And did we have moments where we struggled tonight against it? We did. But in the second half, we moved the ball a lot better. We got much better shots. And I'm confident against a variety of zones, and I believe our team is as well.
So what were you thinking at halftime when it was close and still lethargic kind of?
I was anxious to see us play in the second half. I think I mentioned it after the Colorado game. This is a big week for us. That was a big moment. Could we break a game open, and can we stay with it? Can we improve a little bit on offense? Parker had a turnover late, which is very uncharacteristic for him. But I believe we had 9 turnovers at the half. Is that right? 9 turnovers at the half. So we really played with 2 in the second half. So part of the answer to the question of how did we attack the zone, big difference was just our turnovers. We moved the ball easier in the second half, and I think that'll be a sign of things to come. We haven't seen a ton of zone. A lot of teams have sprinkled it in. Oregon State's a team that plays predominantly zone, and we're not the only team that's going to go through tough patches against it. They don't have a point guard right now, so they're playing big. That doesn't always work to their advantage on offense. but they're a high steal team, deflections, shot blocks. They got great size in that zone, and we'll see. I think when you play against that, the more you play against it, the more comfortable you are.
That final search where you took control of it, I think it started out that you had a couple of turnovers with breakaway dunks. Is that what you're talking about in terms of your offense feeding on?
Any good defensive team scores a lot more points than you realize because of their defense. You know, it's not always going to be a steal dunk, but it's going to be a missed shot. And, you know, on missed shots, it's harder for the defense to get back. And, you know, I think when we have that going for us, stops, consecutive stops, you know, a team really working together, even if the offense had the ball for a while, it's going to be better for our offense. So the more improved we are defensively, believe it or not, that'll help our offense. And we haven't had a lot of problems offensively throughout this year. Most of our problems have come on the other side.
So in a weird kind of way, maybe is this maybe one of your more satisfying wins that you could do it defensively the way you did?
We're a work in progress. We're improving. We're improving. You know, I wasn't looking at jumping off any bridge after we lost our last game, and certainly not, you know, celebrating like we won the Super Bowl here tonight. We have a game here at noon on Saturday, and for us, it's so much about continuing to work to improve and get better. You know, a big part of our team's development is our bench. To get guys to make good plays, to be out there for an extended period of time, and keep this thing going and score. You know, tonight we didn't have, you know, from an offensive perspective, we were 2 for 10 from the field. If you weren't a starter, that's not good. We were 0 for 4 from 3. And we did a couple good things. That Ira Lee had a couple good defensive plays. Brandon had 3 steals. But, you know, our group coming off the bench is better offensively than that. And we need everybody. We need everybody. So our continued development, not just with the starters, but the guys who don't start, is really important.
When you made your comments that was so widely publicized after the Colorado game, did you see results from the players from that kind of thing about not being able to return some money? Did you see response?
You're the writer. That's your opinion. I've answered that question already.
Roughly a quarter of the way through conference play, I guess, what is a game like this where you really have to grind through 40 minutes? You know, how does this get the team kind of ready for NCAA tournament play? You know, getting closer to the tournament, getting closer to the conference tournament at the end of the conference play.
You know, we're far from the NCAA tournament. Every high major conference has tough games. It really does. I watched Michigan State and Rutgers the other day. I have probably more respect for Michigan State as a team based on who their coach is, type of program they have, who they have returning, who they've recruited. They have all the ingredients to be an incredible team, and they've had a really good season. It was about 52-51 with about a minute to go. So much of it is, were they able to win that game and improve and learn and, you know, and like you said, kind of grind a few out. But that's why I made the point that I did this past weekend. If you're only interested in offense and the ball has to go in and you got to get 85 every night, there are going to be a couple conference games you're just going to lose because there's great familiarity. Teams are playing their heart out. You know, there's a number of programs in this country that, because of the decades of success, the other team really gets excited for. And Coach K said it the other day about NC State. Oftentimes you watch a team on film, and when they show up, that's not the team you watched on film. They're eager. They're excited. And they're here to pull the upset. They're here to put a notch in their belt, get a big road win or a home victory. And the way you got to be ready for that night in, night out, 18 times, is you always have to have your effort in check. So that's where we're at. Do I think we're improving in that area? Of course. But we still have to see how we do on Saturday.
So you talked a little bit about Alonzo, and tonight he had a quiet 21, and kind of the effort you're hoping from him offensively. Talked a little about that this week.
You know, his numbers are amazing. If you look at him through 17 games, he's shooting over 50% from the field, over 40% from 3, over 80% from the foul line. You know, he did all 3 of those tonight. Didn't have as many assists, but only had 2 turnovers, 21 points. But, you know, he's, you're right, quiet is how I would describe it. That's a quiet 21. But I think we have to help him get a couple better looks in the first 8 to 10 minutes of the game. You know, he's become good at letting the game come to him, and now I think it's up to our staff to be able to trigger a few shots where he can get some early looks to maybe get him and our team going. Once again, his second half I think was better than his first, and it's really been his pattern all year.
When you guys are working in the off season on zone offense, does it get as specific as saying things like Oregon State does this because it's so extreme, or matchup zone, what you see from them, or ASU or somebody? I mean, or is it more general at that point?
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple different things that we do. You know, no zone is different. Just like man-to-man, I mean, even though it's called man-to-man, there's entirely different types. You know, there's those that really deny and try to steal the ball, switch off the ball, do different things. Teams are blessed with sometimes less quickness or more. Zones are the same way. So certainly you have to have more than one way of playing against the zone. And, you know, again, we weren't perfect, but I thought in the second half we did some really good things. 41 points, low turnovers. And 41 points is deceiving because we probably had 3 or 4 shots on a 2-on-1, a 1-on-1 in transition where we came up empty. I mean, chances of us not getting fouled or scoring on those types of plays are slim.
Can you talk quick about Oregon? You talked, I think, dangerous on Tuesday when we met with you. Do you still, any thoughts on what
they have one of the best coaches in the country. They have a great confidence about them. This is a younger group, a younger team. So, you know, instead of us facing maybe a blend of upperclassmen and new guys, they have maybe more new faces based on how much they lost from a year ago. But they're only going to get better as time moves on. And I don't know how the game's going right now. Obviously, they have a tough game at Arizona State, but we're going to have to really be ready. They're going to play a matchup zone. They're going to press. And, you know, hopefully tonight was a great test for us to get ready for that game.
You talk a lot about how fast things change for you, and a lot in college basketball. And does it seem fitting that Oregon comes here after beating you a couple of years ago with basically nobody left from that team? You guys have 3 guys, I think, but it's like a whole different deal.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon, they're good on anybody's court. I think if you look at their road victories and their winning percentage inside the conference, they're very confident. It's because they've had really good teams. But they also have a really good coach, and they'll come in here ready to go, no doubt about it. And we have to be their equal. We have to be as ready to go. And back to last weekend, that's a very tough turnaround on that trip, even though we had the luxury of flying in that night after our game against Utah. I mean, things are happening really fast. You're playing almost catch-up as you approach that game. The fact that we're at home is different, but it's still a very quick turnaround, and you know, we're going to have to rely on our habits that we have had in place for this game. It's not like we can have 4 practices to get ready, and we're going to have to leave this game and be as ready as we can Saturday at noon. So it's almost the exact same situation except we're at home.
Would you say what Alton's going through with his roster transition is maybe comparable to what you've had to in a couple of years? Or maybe
yeah.
As much, if not more, maybe?
Yep. I mean, I think about it a lot. You know, I read earlier today Lowry has the opportunity to make more three-point shots as an NBA rookie than any player that's ever played in the NBA. That's a pretty good stat. Yeah. It'd be nice to have him with us, you know. You know, Kobe Simmons was a really, really talented player, and I think he'll be an NBA player. He's taking a different path, but his talent is unquestioned. You know, sometimes you watch a year ago, he had a big impact. Chance, as a guy who didn't start, a lot of teams would love to have Chance a year ago, and he would have started. You know, and Kadeem Allen, his ability to lead and defend is unmatched. One of the great leaders that we've ever had. So, you know, no doubt, those 4 guys left us in Oregon. Heck, they lost even more guys. But you have to be able to do that in college basketball and be ready to go the next year. So I think for us, that's why even in January, you know, you ask, hey, do you have your rotation set, or why is it you guys aren't playing as hard? I think if you talk to Dane Altman, he probably has the similar type of problems. But it's so much about us improving and fixing them. You know, I follow Duke. Duke went to Pitt, and Duke's really struggled defensively. They have a great team, very talented, but they're young, and their defensive numbers are not good, especially considering who they are. But their performance at Pitt, you know, listening to their comments, you could tell they're a work in progress. They're working hard at trying to be better on defense. And guess what? When they enter March, they might have it fixed. And if they do, they're going to be a heavy favorite to be there. So for us, we're doing the same thing. It isn't always fun, but we don't have a group of fourth-year players right now that have been through these battles. We have, you know, our most experienced players. Alonzo, for example, last year he didn't even play at this time. He still had to sit out 2 more games. Think about how many games that he missed. You know, Raleigh's one of our most experienced players, and, you know, ditto for him. Played as a freshman and missed really 2.5 months or 2 months. So we're going to get there. It's just a matter of fighting that good fight.